Hey, welcome back everybody. It's another beautiful day here. So I figured we'd start working on the lift. The goal today is to get the rear end in, and then tomorrow in the morning we'll get the front end done. Because it's it's like 3 o'clock here right now. So it's gonna take some time to do this because you have to drop the subframe. Give you all a look here on what we're installing. We got a Subtle Solutions 1-inch lift. You get your rear spacers. All right, 2 of those. Now I've already opened this and tried putting it in once and ran out of weekend, so she had to come back out. Your 14-inch or 14 mil, sorry, 14 mil subframe bolts, your main ones. Just leave those in there for the moment. All right, and then you got your the rest of your the start of your rear alignment kit. These will go. You'll see there's some 14 millimeter bolts that these bolts replace, and that's where these babies come in. Then you have the main subframe spacers. I actually like these. They're billet aluminum. They got Subtle Solutions name on them. They're very nice quality. I really do like them. Now we went with the HDPE or plastic spacers. Now a lot of you say, "Oh, don't use spacers for lifting your vehicle." I know this, but we're on a budget, so this is what we got. You also have your 4 rear strut bolts that you're going to replace your stock ones with, and they come with 2 washers per and 4 nuts. And then we got the front spacers for later. You're going to need, if I remember right, a 17 millimeter for the struts. If not, there's 17 millimeter in there somewhere, so I used it last time. You're gonna need a 14 millimeter for all of your fantastic strut bolts. Today I'm gonna be using one of my new tools, my air ratchet. Get the air compressor all aired up. Just a little pancake buddy, so it will take some time in between a few bolts to work on it. These are gonna be 19 mils. Don't worry, I got 19 millimeter socket. So yeah, I'm a little sketched out on the jack stands, mainly because I'm used to having frame rails to put jack stands onto, and here you can actually use the pinch wells, and it seems pretty stable. I've shook it here and there. But yeah, so pretty much what you're gonna do is we're gonna come in here and we're gonna take our strut bolts off. That big baby right there. Those are 19s, obviously. And then, as you see, you got one of your main subframe bolts and then a 14 mil right there. And the same on the other side. You get, I think 2 more in the middle. And then you got all of these right here you need to take off. So, the biggest problem we had the last time I tried to put this in, and why it actually stopped us, when I did this previously, I had all the bolts out, I had the subframe, diff, everything just resting, being held up by the jack, and I had all the spacers in, had the bolts in, all of them were in a couple threads. And of course, here in Vermont, I was doing it when it was thawing. So the ground thawed enough that day, the jack shifted and it actually stripped out a couple threads on the driver's side 14 mil bolts. So I ended up having to have my dad come down and save my butt with a tap and die set. Hopefully we don't have to worry about that today. I'm gonna actually pre-check the bolts. My dad actually fixed the longer bolts just before I arrived back home. So those should be ready to go back in and not have any problems. So I guess, without further ado, I want to check this car one more time. Make sure she's stable. All right, let's do this. Do the strut mounts. They're right underneath that carpet right there. And pretty much what we're gonna do is there's a bunch of pop clips around here. Now we gotta pop out. You can use a screwdriver. I use a screwdriver. It's not the actual tool for this, but it works. You'll also need to take out your centerpiece, the big black thing here. And then you take this out, make life easier on yourself. And what I usually do is I usually put that like that and start putting all the pieces in it. So we'll go back over here. You got another one up here. Sorry for the crappy camera angles. This car is not exactly what you call level. Even my driveway is not level. It's a crappy thing. But I gotta deal with what I gotta deal with when it comes to this stuff. So yeah, now that you know where the clips are, I'm just gonna quickly get this done and see you guys in a minute. All right, so here we are. I got my impact, and I got a 17mm wrench and a 17mm socket for this. I usually undo these first because, well, alright, so here you got one strut mount nut and the other strut mount nut. I'll take those off, hand it in the air at you. It's pretty much the same on the other side. So I'm gonna get that done and I'll be right back with you. All right, now it's the really fun part. It is the subframe. First thing I wanna do is we're gonna jack it. We're gonna put the jack underneath it and we're gonna put a little bit of pressure on it, not too much, because you're gonna end up lifting the car if you put too much. It's probably, there we go. Let me just go a little bit faster here. That block was just so I could have a little bit of extra room. Get underneath my taller jack stands. All right, so there's a little bit of pressure. Just what we want. And we'll take our 19mm socket, and we're gonna go after that bolt right there. And I'm just gonna take it out, and then I'm gonna see if the other bolts are actually fixed enough to go in there. If not, then this video ends today, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a garage, I would highly recommend doing that in there. As you see, the bolt comes out nice and gently. Let me go get the other bolt and see if he slides up in there and catches a bunch of threads. All right, so we get the longer bolts. Fish them up in there. See if they catch enough threads. That one did very well. Thing that we're gonna do, I got my camera all dirty, is we're gonna take off these 14 mils and that 112, and then we're gonna do the same all the way around. So yeah, I'm going to show you where these bolts are, and then I'm going to quickly get through it all. I'm going to lower it and get the spacers in, show you what it's supposed to look like with the spacers in. Now, the one thing is I'm trying to do this quick and get the bolts in there because I'm short on time. And honestly, it's pretty cut and dry on where to put the bolts. I mean, you got your 114 right there, and then you got your next 19, and then your next 14's right there, and it's the same on the other side. It's exactly identical. So you got 3 bolts on the driver's side, 3 bolts on the passenger side. You got 4 bolts up front. You got your main. You got your 2 14 mils, and then you got your plastic cover. And that should cover all of the bolts. So when I restart this video, we should have all the spacers in with the bolts having plenty of threads on them, and then we'll run everything in. Pretty sure we'll drop, and I'll show you guys the struts too in between now and then, because I want to actually be able to move the subframe to make the struts work better. It's just actually a lot easier, I found, to get the struts done and then lift the subframe into place. That way you're not fighting the suspension to get the struts in. So, all right, stay tuned. All right, it's a little hot out here, and I tell you what, speeding around trying to get all those bolts done is a pain in the butt. So here we got the vise. It's not bolted down because, as you all tell, I don't have a whole lot of resources. So we got to get these bolts out, and they are, you know, pressed in. 17 millimeter socket is going to be your best friend for this. Don't worry, they have a crown tip for a reason. And if you end up needing to put them back on, same process. Just reverse. So you put the socket on the other end, and voila. I'll give it a little bit of pressure if I can get it in there. All right, so this is where the fun is. It does not take a ton of pressure to get these to come out, as you saw. There you go. That's all it is. It's quick, it's easy. You get, granted, yeah, I've already taken them out once, so they're not hard to get out the second time. And just so you know, you don't want to do this too much, and then you have to replace the top hat here, because these holes will wear out from these teeth. As you can see, they got these little tiny focus. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to see them, but there's little teeth at the very bottom, just below that thicker top right here. You see there's little teeth there. So let me get the rest of these out, and then we'll get to installing the spacers. All right, so here you go. Both strut bolts are out. So you're gonna take your bolts that come inside. He will put them inside here, so they'll be laying like this inside there. Take one of your little tiny washers here, put it on, slide her through, put this one on, and then it's sitting here tightening this down. So now you have new strut studs. So get this one on. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just show you guys how they how it all goes together, and then I'm gonna get everything tightened up, and then get these things back on the subframe, bolted on, so that way when we're ready to lift the subframe up to the actual frame of the car, the body of the car, we're good. All right, so you got a flat side And you guys saw the recess holes. You can see the recess there. Recess holes go over the nuts. And it's as simple as that, folks. It's really easy. He doesn't actually put how tight or any torque specs in here. If I were you, I'd call Subtle Solutions, get a hold of Brad, and he will tell you more than likely what these torque specs for these are. But yeah, so I'm gonna get the other side done, get these tightened up, and get these bolted in the car. You already seen how they come out. They go in the same way. The one thing I'm gonna let you know about is when you take these things out, that rubber bushing on the bottom here, you gotta wiggle or grab a pry bar to get this whole strut out. So yeah, let me get this done. Good morning, everyone. Today is day 2 of the lift install. Yesterday we got the rear lift in. It only took us 2 hours. If you can, make sure you find the factory torque specs for all the bolts. That's what you're gonna be looking for. To do that, I have not found them yet. As soon as I do, I will get them out to you guys. But yeah, so today we're gonna work on the front and finish this lift, finally. The bugs are out again. They're all over me again. Got some pretty gnarly bites. See one right there, just above where the shadow is. Yesterday, so it's a dangerous country here. Dangerous place to be doing work to your car this time of year. All these bugs. So first off, I want to show you all something. So as you all can tell, I have a set of locking lug nuts on this. Now, I have actually seen people do this, and I kind of wanted to put it out there what's a good idea and what's not a good idea to do with these. So you get your key, all right. Now, what I would not do is never use an impact on these, because these sockets aren't really made for impacts. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna end up snapping the key off on the inside, and then you're gonna have nothing. So just use a standard breaker bar or your lug wrench and just break this free. That's all it is. And then take it off by hand. It's easy as that. That way you don't destroy your locking lug nuts, and you're not having to bring it to a shop to get them off because you broke a key off because you decided to do it the wrong way. Don't mind the rusty rotors. As you all know, I've been gone for the last month, so the car's been sitting, so obviously they're gonna rust. All right, so let's get this wheel off. We got tire off. I inspected this. It's pretty much all that is right there. It's just surface rust that built up. The new Vermont state inspection law states that you can't have rust more than 1/2 inch. Well, I think that's a 1/2 inch, but I'm praying that the brake pad wears it off before inspection time, which is in a couple months. So if not, it's under warranty, so obviously they're gonna have to do something about it. So anyways, to get back onto things, you need to remove those 2 big bad boys, 19mm sockets, wrench, and then you need to remove the brake line bracket and the ABS sensor wire bracket. So yeah, I don't know where I can put you folks before you can see, but I'll do my best. The first thing you want to do is get the brackets done. And that's a 12mm bolt. comes off a little hard though, I will say. And then you just kind of push your brake line off to the side. And then this one here is like a little clip dealio. Probably push this out with your fingers. I guess in my luck's gonna be I'm gonna have to go get a pair of pliers just to get this thing pulled out. Guess not. That's all you gotta do there. Another thing you want to know, you see I have a jack here. Well, there's a reason for this. You pull those bolts and you get her off from the knuckle, this whole assembly is going to drop. You don't want that because that axle all the way in the back where it hooks the transmission will pop out if she goes down too fast. So here we're going to circumvent that from happening. And we're going to put just a little bit of, not much pressure, and you don't need to be reefing on it. Right here at the lower ball joint, just put a tiny bit of pressure. That way when it releases, you don't have to worry about it. All right, let's get these strut bolts off. Yes, I'm using a ratchet and a impact because I unfortunately do not have a 19mm wrench. And this seems to be, I don't have enough power in my air compressor to pop these off. So, when in doubt, grab a breaker bar. This breaker bar is pretty spent. I've had this thing for like 10 years or so. So she's not the greatest, but she does the job. So there's that. And I guess we'll just run these all the way, the rest of the way off with the impact. There you have it, folks. Now, just remember, when you look at this, there's a washer up top, but there isn't one on the bottom. So make sure that washer goes back on the top bolt. And I'm going to have to hammer these out, which means I'm going to go get a hammer. So there, you see there's a washer there, but there's not one on the bottom. And just make sure you have a rubber mallet when you do this. Be right back. Out, you can see she moved a little bit. She's going to, she's supposed to. You remember there's some tension there, and we had some tension when we jacked it up. So now you're just going to release the jack a little. So she has some fall to her. And there you go. Now it's just getting your three top mounts, or three top bolts out, and then we'll get the spacers on. But yeah, she didn't drop as much as I thought she would, which kind of worries me because I'm putting a 1-inch lift in this thing, and there's not 1 inch of travel there, but I guess we'll find out how she goes. take a little pressure off from the axle and stuff. Oh. All right, so I figured it out. Let me get this lined up so you guys can see what I'm gonna do here. So I got a 1/4 inch drive. What is this, 9/16 socket, all right? I took one of the nuts because I want to try to protect the threads just in case. You slap the socket down in behind there. I will assure you this is not easy when you're doing this on the ground and stuff with no help. But hey, I've been doing this stuff by myself for a long time. Pretty used to it. All right, so you snug it up. Your nut will spin a little bit. And there she goes. That's all you gotta do for all three. So let me get the last one out here. And yeah, we'll get to putting the new... Now it's time to put the new stuff together. So we pull out our 1-inch front spacers here. Now I want to remind you to not lose your stock nuts because you will have to reuse those. So this is kind of the same deal as the back. You have a bunch of these little dubbers. All right, so you got your new bolt. You put a washer in your new bolt. You take said new bolt. And you feed it through. Pretty much you just do that all the way around. There's a sweet spot to do it in, right about there. So you don't have to take the top hat off. Saves you a whole lot of time and hassle. And if you've ever done mechanics at all in your entire life, you will know that taking these apart can be a little bit of a pain. It can be an unnecessary waste of time sometimes. All All right, so then you got 6 of these nuts right here. We only need 3 right now. We run these babies right on, so you guys can see. I almost feel like these studs are longer than the ones that were on the rear, and they probably are. Because I don't remember the other ones being this long. All I'm going to do is show you how it all sets up, and then I'm going to tighten it all up, and then we'll get it in the car. Get the driver's side all put back together, and then I'll do a time lapse of the passenger side, because I don't think you guys care to watch it twice. If I run into problems, I'll stop and let you all see the problem I ran into. So you got your strut, your plate, spacer, you got a flat side, and you got side with indent or recess holes. Recess holes go towards the nuts to cover the nuts. Well, they're a tight fit, so you get the gist of it. You got these ones you actually have to squeeze on there, and it actually holds the nuts, which is very, very good, because that way you don't have these backing off over time. So I'm gonna get these tightened up, and I'll meet you guys back at the car. So we get spacer on. That's what she looks like. Very pretty. Now it's just getting these holes to line up properly. So I'm gonna go underneath. Yeah, I've ran into a tiny problem here. The strut's running into the axle. So you get one on, kind of take some stress off yourself. Just lightly hold it. Don't lose the nuts like I just did. Well, I lost the nut, and I don't know where it went. So that should be fun to find. Oh! Luck was on our side. I will say, sitting here holding it up, you tend to rush. Don't do that. Don't rush. Don't mind all the nastiness of this engine compartment. She will get a nice washing before Wicked Big Meet. Like I said, the car's been sitting for like the last month. I haven't had a whole lot of time to do anything with it. So these babies, just a little tight. Don't overdo it. I'm gonna look up the torque specs after I get done today and torque everything the way it's supposed to be. All right, so that's top. Now this is a problem I thought we were gonna run into at the bottom. Here's how high this is. That's how low that is. And we're running into a bunch of stuff. Now I had the hammer there to keep this from flopping over and damaging the tie rod end. Why? Because premature wear is not a good thing. So let's see what I come up with here. Give you guys a nice view. take some pressure off the off this. Now, unfortunately, I seemingly have put the brake line on the wrong side. Not a big deal. They're long enough. We can shuck it over here. So it's on the right side. All right. So this is where the fun begins. You gotta line these two up, and then we gotta find a way to push down enough to get the bolts in. Don't worry, we're gonna get it. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. A good little ump. And she's in. That's just the top though. Still got a lot at the bottom. Make sure you use a rubber mallet. I use a hard rubber mallet, but it's rubber mallet because you will damage things using a regular hammer. And then it's just putting everything back together from here. I'm gonna run these on real quick and then look at the torque specs for everything. Excuse me. Sorry if y'all didn't want to listen to me belch, but it happens. I'm sorry. Just don't forget to, hook back in your ABS wire and your brake line bracket. Those are big pieces of the puzzle you don't want to leave out. Trust me. I've seen people do it, and it leads to bad things. Because you end up getting your ABS wires pinched somewhere, and then boom. Hey, I got an ABS light that I never had before. Like, what's this all about? Are my traction control lights on? Why? Well, what'd you do wrong? So, that is how you install a 1-inch Subtle Solutions spacer lift in a 2015 plus WRX. It doesn't take a lot. The rear actually takes longer than the front. The front probably took me like probably a half hour to an hour total. Just do one side, and I still have to do the other. So you figure about it's a 4-hour project all the way around, as long as you don't run any snafus. Granted, this car's only it's not even a year old yet. It's about 11 months old. Yeah, she's a little rusted. Vermont winters will do that. The other big thing you got to remember is go get an alignment once you get all this. Once you've done all this, it's not so much for the rear because the rear alignment kit is that thing all the spacers. That is actually to keep your tires aligned in the stock position when it comes to in and out. And I'll go over more of that at the end of this video. Give you guys all the specifics on what you're gonna look for and what you're gonna look out for. I have my wheel alignment scheduled for tomorrow at Town Fair Tire. They gave us a voucher for a wheel alignment, so we're gonna use that to get this thing aligned. And it's always good towards the end of spring to get your car realigned anyways, or check your alignment, because, well, Vermont roads and a lot of roads in our country suck, and just the right bump can knock you out of alignment. You'd be surprised. I've actually seen it. A bump knock a only 3 or 4 year old car out of alignment really easily. So, all right, I'm gonna get all this tightened up, and then you guys will be able to see the end result once the passenger side is done. All right, so it's done. And I'm super excited because this looks really sick. Even 1 inch of lift made a huge difference in this thing. Should I keep building it up, or should I just let you guys see it? I'll let you guys see it. How to install a 1 inch lift from Subtle Solution on a 2018 WRX. Pretty much goes for 2015 and up. So I'm pretty sure it's the same on the STIs, I'm gonna gather. But this is how you do it for WRX. It looks a lot better. I will say that these cars should come a little bit higher off the ground, off the factory, and then we can lower them later, because lifting them sucks in a way, especially if you have a nice sand, rocky, horrible driveway like I do. If I had the money, I would take care of this, but this is all going to get dug up in a couple of years and hopefully a garage put in, so I don't have to do this outside anymore. So anyways, check out Subtle Solutions. Talk to Brad. If I remember right, it's a family-owned company out of Michigan. They make great products, and they will back their products. They do everything from this model year to cross tracks to older Imprezas to regular Imprezas. They do a wide variety of lifts for a wide variety of Subarus, and they also have a lot of other things like license plate deletes and shift knobs and stuff like that. They have a whole bunch of stuff. They also sell rims and tires, wheels. Sorry, I know how some of you get. But yeah, it's pretty in depth. I mean, the rear lift, there wasn't a whole lot to show you other than what bolts to take out, what it looked like when they were taken out, and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to figure out. You pull those bolts out, you put your spacers in, you line it up, take your time, and put your bolts back in, torque and everything. I did actually find the specs, torque specs. I'd have to look at them again, see what the rears are, but the front, the two bottom bolts, the 19 mils, those are 114 foot-pounds for torque, and then the top nuts are 15 pounds, 15 foot-pounds. So take it easy on those top nuts. I did encounter an issue. I guess I didn't tighten one of the bolts and nuts enough. I reefed on them pretty good. Not hard enough to like strip them or anything like that, but you can see in the time lapse, you know, I put some pressure on them, and it spun a little bit on the driver's side. So the good news is you actually can fit a 12mm wrench up in there and tighten it down, so you don't have to deal with the nut spinning and not getting it tight. You can still get it tight. But make sure you look up torque specs, torque everything properly. The rear takes 2 hours, and then the front takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Once you do the first side, the other side is actually pretty easy. As you saw in the video, the passenger side was super fast. I mean, everything lined up and went right into place, no problem at all. Whereas the driver's side was a lot more difficult. But yeah, that is our lift. I might do another video later of my new washing kit that I got for my car. So yeah, that is how you install a Subtle Solutions 1-inch spacer kit. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more pics of the car, go on my Instagram. I'll have it right down there in the corner. And I'll also would love to hear from you guys. So leave a comment below. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you want to continue seeing videos. And yeah, stay safe and keep between the ditches.